This episode of New Jersey Living is making a return trip to Somerset County. This is one of the counties that is dead at the heart of what I consider as Central Jersey. And if you've seen some of my episodes before, other than this one, then you know already that I do subscribe to a Central Jersey. I am in that camp. Other camps say it's just north-south. Others, like myself, say there is central. So Somerset County is really right there in the central portion of the state. And we've covered a few townships in this location already. We've covered Bridgewater. We've covered Somerville. We've covered North Plainfield. Now we're going to take a look today at Watchung, which is at the very northern portion of Somerset County, bordering right on Providence. We've covered Summit. We've covered both in Union County, but this is right there nearing that border of Union County. So we're going to take a dive today, and first stop is going to be quite a treat. So welcome to New Jersey Living. My name is Corey Jones, and I am a licensed real estate agent here in the state of New Jersey with Coldwell Banker. My team is the New Jersey Living Group, where we have 6 members of a team that cover a wide range of territory from Passaic and Bergen County all the way down to Ocean County. We also have a podcast where I host New Jersey Living, the podcast. So thank you for joining us for another episode. We aim to provide valuable content on various communities in New Jersey and the recent trends in the real estate market in New Jersey. So if you're looking to learn all things New Jersey, obviously real estate, dining scenes, social events, iconic locations, this is the channel for you. So go ahead and click like, subscribe, and notification bell so that you can stay updated on this type of content that is coming your way on a weekly basis. If you happen to not reside in the Garden State, you can absolutely get information and insights on New Jersey in general and the real estate market through my relocation guide. So my relocation guide is right here in the details of this channel. And you'll also have an opportunity just to take a quick look at that QR code, scan it, get that document delivered right directly to you. So thank you again for joining. Let's get this started now. Watchung, New Jersey may be a name that you're not familiar with at all if you're from outside of the state, outside of the regions. There are certain towns and cities in New Jersey that just ring a bell if you're relatively local. Like if you're maybe in New York City, yes, you've heard of Jersey City. Yes, nationally, even you've probably heard of Newark, you've heard of Patterson. And then if you're local, again, even if you're in New York, you've heard about Montclair, Summit, Westfield, some of these towns that do, for good reason, draw a lot of attention and have a lot of positive notoriety. Watchung is certainly a premium type of location, but it depends on the specific taste that you're looking for with community. So by taste, what I mean is this, is that many of my clients will be very upfront about the type of neighborhood aesthetic that they're looking for and lot sizes that they're looking for. So some prefer the aesthetics of a very kind of scenic community where the scenery goes beyond just having trees and having, nice yard space and things like that, but having curbs, having sidewalks, being a very easy walkable type of community. Watchung certainly is aesthetically beautiful. If it's a location that you really want those sidewalks and an easy walk around, whether it be with a stroller, walking dogs, jogging, things like that, Watchung would not be necessarily at the top of your list. You do find that in some of the locations that I mentioned previously, like Summit and like Westfield and like Montclair. You get plenty of that for those locations. Predominantly, Watchung is a windy road, wooded neighborhood, very, very, I'd say close to nature type of community that is very unique when we're talking about this community compared to some of those others. So let's take a look now at where I started the tour for Watchung today, and that is at Washington Rock State Park. All right, so as you take in some scenes here of Washington State Park, I took a close-up of the mantle, banner, for lack of a better term, that gives a little history about the park. If you've seen some of my other episodes, or you just live in New Jersey, you know that there is substantial history, United States history that have unfolded right here in the state of New Jersey. In this case, We're talking about the Revolutionary War, where General George Washington, who would go on to become the first president of the United States, he leads his army from Morristown. So if you haven't seen my Morristown episode, take a look at it. He leads his troops from Morristown to Watchung. And Watchung Rock State Park is a relatively small portion of the southern end of Watchung, bordering right really on Warren. It's hard to tell the difference of where Warren or even Greenbrook begin and end and where Watchung begins. But this has basically an overlook that is a phenomenal view, absolutely spectacular. So from this view, you look out, you can see Manhattan. And I had to take a close-up shot. I'm gonna flash that up so that you can see how you can view the Manhattan skyline from this location. And also the Verrazano Narrows Bridge is visible from this location as well. Can't see it as well with the regular video footage, so I took a couple still shots of that, tried to zoom in the best I could. So General Washington was using this location as a lookout to be able to see what the British were doing both in New York, which they controlled, and Perth Amboy, New Brunswick, which they can control. And from this site with the elevation, looking down into the valley, then onto the shore, you can see it's a very good view of both of those locations from this view. We're going to see a little later, even with some road footage, there's a section of homes that are right along this edge line. All right, so when we are looking from this viewpoint, this vantage point, essentially, these are the beginning of the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains, which is the longest and largest mountain chain on the east coast of the United States. All right, so this is the beginning of some of those elevations. These are not mountains by any means, but they're elevations where you'll really be able to see long and far all the way into New York City. So when we're talking about Watchung, we're going to flash up a map here, and just to give you an idea of where Watchung is in relation to New York City. It's just the west, a little bit southwest of Manhattan. So but before we jump into our normal intro with the big three, let's take a look at a couple demographics that tell us a bit of the story about Watchung. I'm going to flash up first Watchung's median home price. So we've been looking at these in our recent episodes to get an idea of where do homes, what's the majority of homes as we put them into category of price points, where do they fall in each given town? In this one, we see here that the majority of homes in Watchung are over $750,000, and that's very, very reflective, very much reflective of this market. You see routinely somewhere in the neighborhood of 800 over all the way up to maybe about 2 million. So you can see that 56% of homes in this market are falling in that $750,000 range. 35% are in that $400 to $749. So you get the impression just based on those data demographics that this is more of a higher end community as it pertains to housing prices. And median income, this is based on 2023 census estimate, and that is roughly $189,000 as your median home income. So that's something to just really take into account when you're factoring in what type of community you're moving into in terms of the housing prices and what general income levels tend to live in those locations. So with that little bit of groundwork, we're now going to jump into our more core of what we do here at New Jersey Living. And now for the big three. If you have not watched many of my episodes, and those who already have, you know what's coming. But if you have not and you're new, note two things really. One is that I tend to cover the recent sold market on these episodes, and there is a specific reason why. I want to focus on recent sales because that gives the best indicator of how the market is performing. Where did a property list at? How many days was it on market? Where did it actually sell at? This is the information that both buyers and sellers are looking at to determine what the market is like for their specific goals, ambitions, or what they just are curious about. Okay, so we're going to almost always look at recent sales within the past 30 days. Sometimes we extend that a little bit further out to 45 days, depending on the location of the township that we're looking at. So with Watchung, we are going to take a look a little further back. We're going to go back about 45 days. But if you are someone by the way, who is looking or interested in getting more updated content, be sure to take a look at my website. Again, the website is posted right here in the details. And if you go to my site, you can scroll down. You'll see information specific to communities. You'll see listings also that you can click on just to review. And you can even set up a custom search of your own. So there is a means of really accessing recent, updated inventory directly from the various MLSs that I'm a part of. Unfortunately, if you're looking on Zillow or if you're looking on some of these online platforms, they don't always have the most updated information. Many of these properties often have gone under contract or have accepted offer, which you really won't know. But I encourage you, utilize my website or even contact me or my team directly. We'll be happy to give you some insights on what is available and what's not. So back to where we are going to dive into now with the big three. There are three primary factors that determine real estate value in the New Jersey market. Those three being proximity to New York City, having a local train station, and ratings for the local schools. So these three, they don't always have to have all three checked off to be a high demand district, but more often than not, and I mean, yes, in the vast majority of cases, your three check marks are your highest demand type of locations as it pertains to the real estate market. So for Watchung, we're going to start with proximity. And as I mentioned a little early in this episode, we're going to look at two different routes here because depending on where you may work, where a lot of people tend to work is either the downtown financial district of Manhattan or Midtown. Obviously, it's a workplace is spread all over the 5 boroughs, but these are probably the most heavy populated work site locations of those who commute to the city. First, we're going to map Watchung to World Trade, which we would take the Holland Tunnel. And you get to see what that commute looks like. Watchung is directly along 78, Route 78 that runs east-west from Pennsylvania all the way to New York City, runs directly through Watchung. So you are directly no more than maybe 10 minutes away from being able to get onto 78. All right, so that helps a lot when it comes to commuting when you're driving in. So we'll do one to the World Trade, we'll do the other to Midtown. And by Midtown, we can probably just easily target the Port Authority, which is right there just outside of crossing or going underneath the Hudson through the Lincoln Tunnel. All right. So Watchung is well within an hour, and there's going to be exceptions if you're in the highest traffic time that can always factor in. But in a normal, casual drive into the city, it's going to be less than an hour for Watchung to get into the city. So the check mark for proximity. The next is train station. Being near a train station, I am not counting. I've had those comments on my other episodes where towns that are, or people who live in a town that's very, very near a train station and say, hey, that's a short trip away. That's like 5-minute drive, 10-minute drive. I get it. But I am only considering having a train station in town for these purposes. Watchung is neighboring to Berkeley Heights and is neighboring to Gillette, which, you know, we're talking about the more Long Hill area. And when you get really towards Warren County, there are local train stations that are easily acceptable, Gillette and Berkeley Heights, but neither are in Watchung. So no check mark for train station for Watchung. If you are looking to commute by train, yes, there are really reasonable drives to go and get on a train. Most people in Watchung are probably going to go to Summit. Some may do New Providence, but many probably going to go to Summit to get the train. Final is school ratings. So I'm going to flash up 2 school ratings here because Watchung has grades 5 through 8 as a district. As a standalone district, they only cover grades 5 through 8. Schools are rated A-rated. K to 8 schools for Watchung. High school is regional. So Watchung Hills is the high school that Watchung students, along with other students in different townships and in even different counties in this case, are going to attend that. A+ for Watchung Hills Regional High School. So definitely a check mark for school ratings. So Watchung, 2 out of 3. So it is absolutely people are going to take notice of, I should say, when it comes to looking for quality community. It's just that, as you'll notice with some of the road footage that we're going to see along the way, this is very much a community that's not a kids are going to be walking down the block and walking from one place to another. A lot of hilly and windy roads with no curbs. no sidewalks, but beautiful landscape as it pertains to lot size. Definitely a very forest feel kind of community. Now, there are some other aspects that come along with that because there's going to be plenty of deer. So you have to be mindful of gardening and things of that nature. If deer tend to eat what you are planting, you're going to have to take some safeguards against it. There'll be an occasional bear here or there. All right, that's most counties in New Jersey, believe it or not. But yeah, there'll be a bear here and there every maybe few years. You can expect a sighting or something to be reported. So we're going to take a look at 4 properties in this episode, recent sales in Watchung, and flash up some photos that you can see what the homes look like, the interior, the general aesthetic. You'll be able to pick up of the neighborhood, that is, through some road footage that you'll see in between our presentation of each property. So we're going to start at 12 Canterbury Lane. This was a property that listed at $1.149 million and sold at $1.05 million. So this one was purchased slightly under ask, and that's something to take note of as well. That's not just because Watchung is a 2 out of 3 in terms of demand, because certainly if this was in Summit, this would have been above. If this was New Providence, this probably would have been above as well in terms of asking price. But it's still, with that being said, it was 16 days on market. 5 bedrooms, 3 full baths, 2 half baths, and taxes on this property, $16,307. So this gives you, a feel for both the size, and if you're taking note, as you see some of the road footage, and you'll see that many of these homes are off the road. There's a driveway that you're going to either drive down. It's pretty extensive length, or some of them have circle type of driveways. There are a few communities which you're going to see some road footage on those as well that do have curbs, but you're not going to find many, if any. I cannot think of a location with sidewalks specifically in Watchung right offhand. But if you do have some and you're watching this and you live in Watchung, definitely put it in the comment section and let me know what section of the town that's in. And in general as well, those who have questions, comments, this is a community type of environment, please do feel free to contribute to the conversation that we have here. So this is first stop. Every property that we have in this particular episode is going to be million plus, all right, because we're talking about that type of community. So taking some road footage, and we'll continue with the next stop. Our second stop is at 70 Ninghan Drive. Now, this property, we're seeing a little bit of an escalation where we're talking about price point. Listed at 1.3 million, sold at 1.2, 14 days on market. Keep in mind, when we're talking about days on market, oftentimes a property may be coming soon. So I have one of those right now in Montclair. We went coming soon on Wednesday, but the first day of viewings won't happen until like a Saturday. So even though a property is not viewable, it still counts as a market day. So that's 14 days on market. May not altogether give us a good reflection of how many days it took for people to view, then put an offer on and have that offer accepted. So these days, I'd say it's safe to probably subtract anywhere from 3 to 5 days off of the number that we give you for days on market to get an idea of how long it took to really view from first viewing until accepted offer, right? When we see the 2-3 week time frames, tend to say 20, I say even 25 days. So this property, 4 bedroom, 2 full baths, 1 half. Taxes on this a little higher, $19,000. And sometimes I've been noticing recently, and it's not so much the case here, but in New Jersey, newer construction properties are being assessed at much higher values than existing property. This property was built in 1973. If you are a resident of New Jersey right now, you'll notice that the assessment value of your home is pretty substantially below the market value. And I do mean substantially. There's a new construction home. The township is going to apply what's called an equalization rate to that home at a certain percentage. So that percentage could be 85% of market value or 88% of market value, and that is going to be the assessed value of that home. Your typical existing home will not have that type of assessed value, anything close to 80 some percent. All right, so that just kind of weighs the upside downside of buying new construction in New Jersey. And we're already kind of grappling with, not kind of, in a significant way, grappling with high property taxes being at the top of the scale in the nation. So this property, as we take a look, browse through some photos here, and you'll be able to see firsthand what type of amenities, the type of upgrades. Oftentimes, the more upgrades you have, the more likely that property is going to sell comfortably above the asking price. That dynamic will change a bit once you get to the higher price points, when you're above 1 million, for example, and it also going to be relative to the location, what township, how much demand there is for that location. So as I mentioned earlier, Watchung is a little different than your Westfield, your Ridgewood, your Summit, your Montclair in terms of the general aesthetic of neighborhoods, just like you see in some of these photos and road footage. Different type of community. You're going to have more privacy. You're going to have more comfort in terms of just general space, but you're not going to have, these sidewalk streets, as I've been mentioning all along, where you may go out for a walk. So your kids, or your relatively young kids, will go walking, neighbor, friend down the street, a few houses down. These are often cases, as I mentioned before as well, hilly and windy roads that wind through various neighborhoods. So now we're going to take a look at property number 3. Our third stop is at 105 Scott Drive. This is a relatively newer construction, and by that I mean something that is well after that pre-war era where we see a lot of homes being built in New Jersey. The further you go out, and particularly in some of the more spread out suburban locations like a Watchung, you find a lot of homes 60s, 70s, and 80s that were built. This one built in 1982. So 105 Scott was listed at 1.375, sold at 1.4, 15 days on market. This one, we're going to take a look at some of these interior photos, and you'll be able to see some of the upgrades that draw attention and demand for this particular property, which is why it went above. This one had a highest and best deadline, and we mention that frequently because that still happens a lot in this market. The market in general right now, and we are currently in June of 2024, it is certainly starting to slow as we get towards the middle of the summer. The height of the season in the spring is April, May. And once we start to get towards late June, July, certainly in August, there is a noticeable decline in just activity in general. So this is a property that was definitely well attended in terms of whether it be the open house or scheduled viewings, relative to the price point, of course, because as you imagine, there'll be far more people that will attend an open house and scheduled viewings of a property priced at $600,000 than something priced at $1.6 million. This had highest and best, most likely a multiple offer scenario, and some competition involved, landed just above list price. Taxes here, $18,589, 4 bedrooms and 4 full baths. So the full baths particularly add value as well, because it often means that there are you're going to have a primary bedroom, which is going to have a ensuite. Then when you have 4 full baths, often there's at least 1, if not 2 other bedrooms that will have an ensuite as well, and possibly even a finished basement with a full bath in that location. So that kind of spells greater market value when it comes to those specific features of a home. So this one, as I mentioned, highest and best, had some recent renovations relatively about 10 years ago, but still if you're within 5 to 10 years of having an upgrade, that tends to bode well from a market value standpoint, provided the home has been maintained well during that time frame. So that's our number 3. Let's hop over to our final stop now. Our final stop is new construction, which, as I mentioned before, new construction, your tax implications are going to be noticeably different. So in this case, let's take a look at some of the details, and we'll dive into what the tax implications may be as we consider what this new owner is going to soon be billed for as we get into the tax year later this year. So 51 Upper Drive, this is a 5-bedroom, 6 full baths, 1 half. So think about it for a second. If there are 5 bedrooms and there's 6 full baths, then most likely every bedroom has a bathroom, has an ensuite of its own, or at least 4 of those 5 will. All right, likely a finished basement with possibly a full or potentially a half bath there as well. Priced at basically at 1.7 million, sold at 1.699 to be specific, 23 days on market. This was on 2.5 acres. So that's something to consider as well. I didn't run down acreage, although you'll see flashes of acreage on the other properties because that is relevant, very relevant as it pertains to Watchung. This is a noticeably large lot, and these lots don't mean that that's 2.5 acres of grass to cut. By any means, much of that is going to be wooded. All right. So this is something that, because it being brand new, is priced accordingly. So a existing home may around the same or similar features with bed and bath in size in terms of square footage. Without being new construction, you might have found it at, say, 1.59 or maybe 1.55, and people will just bid up from there. New construction has a tendency to price where the builder or investor anticipates the home will sell at. All right, so they tend to go a bit on the higher end. That does backfire at times because there has to be a drop when there's no activity, but in this case, they did not have that at all with 23 days on market in total. The estimated taxes that are thrown up here is $31,000, but as I mentioned, each town has its own equalization rate. So the town will take that 1.7 and they will factor in whatever their determined percentage is in terms of assessed value. I've seen anywhere from about 85 to 92% of actual market value. So in taking a look at the photos, you can see there's some staging here, open concept floor plan. There's some definite benefits that comes with having a new construction home because it's going to have more contemporary designs in terms of the layout and even with room sizes. If you're in locations like I mentioned before in Watchung, where many homes are built in 60s, 70s, 80s. There are other towns as well that you find a good number of that. Mendham, Chatham, those are 2 examples where, because they're built in a time frame where larger bedrooms became a desired feature, at least you already have an existing footprint there to make your own. It's the World War II and pre-war homes that tend to have more closed-off spaces and smaller bedrooms from that general era that may warrant more structural work in terms of renovation, which comes at a cost. So this concludes our episode on Watchung. I want to thank you again for tuning in to another episode of New Jersey Living. Again, be sure to click like, subscribe, notification bell. Reach out to me if you have any direct questions or comments. You can do it right here in the comment page. I do have a Calendly link if you want to schedule an appointment with me so that we can discuss whatever your specific needs may be, whether it be buy, sell, or even rent. I would love to assist you in your process. So thank everybody again. Stay safe. Stay tuned to New Jersey Living. I'll see you next week.